Hello, it's Matt Chapman, and I'm here with Rob Rosenberg, who is in Ohio in the US. And Rob is the global head of HR for the supply chain business of DHL. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
How are you doing over there?
We're doing really well. I mean, particularly in the last month or two, it's been really encouraging for us to see a good deal of our business return, but more importantly, the vast majority of our employees return safely and healthy to the many different sectors across the world.
And so, for those listening, tell us about the scope of the supply chain business, because a lot of people probably don't realize just the magnitude of this business that you look after.
Yeah, the scope of our business is we we support 60 to 65 countries. We have 210,000 employees globally, and those employees work across multiple sectors that range from technology to automotive to service logistics to life sciences, retail, consumer. And fortunately, because of that, Matt, during the COVID crisis in particular, the last 5 months, we've been able to stay relatively well balanced in terms of where we see business reduce in certain sectors. We've seen business increase to a huge amount. So quite diverse business and a large workforce across the world.
That's good. So you said obviously the diversification strategy of a global business has worked quite well, but tell us more about what the implications have been for you as a global HR leader managing a business of this magnitude over this time.
Oh gosh, lots of implications. This has been.
And we only have 10 minutes.
Yeah. So I mean, the probably the biggest implications for us is the changes in expectations of leadership, but also the kind of culture that we continue to evolve and the kind of workplace environment that we create. I mean, with over 200,000 employees and over 4,000 different operations, we have a huge obligation to provide safety, health, and good working environments. And that's a big implication for us in terms of the kind of workplace that we provide for people.
Right. Okay. So big emphasis on safety. So as things started to change, obviously, at a headquarters level, but also out in the countries, how did you need to evolve to that change?
We needed to become much more flexible, adaptable, the speed of our decision making, our ability to cope with and deal with ambiguity, transparency of communications, active support. I mean, there's a relatively long list of things that require us to immediately deal with, and that's what we've needed to be very responsive to. A lot of it for us, Matt, has been is how do we cope with the ambiguity and the fluidity of the situation changing day by day, and being very comfortable to communicate and stay actively engaged without having all the answers.
Yeah, I was talking to someone the other day in Switzerland, and they were talking about the concept of community leadership in the sense that no one has the right answer, that there's the need to actually draw from different minds, which segues me onto leadership. And I know it's an area that you are particularly passionate about, but tell me more about your thoughts on how leadership has had to respond through this period.
Well, I mean, the thing that immediately comes to my mind is I think particularly day to day, normally, particularly at middle and senior management, leadership often obligates leaders to feel like they need to lead the decision making, sustain a very active level of involvement in governance and to some degree control. But we quickly learned the more autonomy we give, the more independence, the more support and facilitation, the better off we're going to be. So it's created quite a bit of a change in the role I play, the role that my colleagues play. And we have had to learn how to become much more of facilitators, enablers, providers, and listeners than the doers and the decision makers on so many things. And I think most of our people have felt very empowered by that. And it's been a big lesson for us.
Now, you were also talking about humility as well when we were speaking earlier. Talk us through what's on your mind there.
Yeah, I mean, with as you've seen probably across the world, the kinds of situations personally and professionally that our people have gone through, the situations that they've had to deal with within their communities, as well as our customers, is we've really realized the importance of personally connecting with people and the importance that as you do that, you have to not only let your personal guard down a bit, but you also have to have a degree of humbleness and personalness about you that shows a real keen interest in the person, the people, their situation, their family. And I think to some degree it's taken kind of the business edge off so many discussions and has added the significance of the personal dimension of leadership, which I think is really been exciting for us because in some degrees it's caused us to slow down a bit, place a greater importance on personal relationship building, understanding situations that people are going through, and with that, I think it does cause us to be a bit more humble in how we're dealing with people and situations.
I think it's really well put. And that's not a skill that everyone has. Some people it's a muscle that they haven't developed because obviously a lot was focused on business results and business performance. So how do we make people feel comfortable developing more of this capability as a leader and a people manager?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to first of all personally lead that by example, but we also need to demonstrate that through a combination of our formal people processes in terms of things like our own assessment of skills and behaviors of leaders, but we also need to walk the talk in terms of how we behave and what we reward. And I would just tell you, as an example, our main emphasis of our strategy is what we call hashtag Together Unstoppable. And it's just, a coincidence that the last 4 to 5 months have proven the strength of what happens when you are together unstoppable and you actually work together. And it's shown us that if we walk the talk in terms of the humbleness of our leadership role, the contribution we can make to easing people's anxieties, making people feel more comfortable, making people feel like we are here to take care of them. I think the more our own leaders will realize that this is a behavior we expect.
Now, how are you dealing with the issue of regeneration? And obviously, people have been through a lot of change, and businesses, in terms of strategic planning, are needing to use the insights of now to protect the future, but obviously still going through change. But we need to build in this ability to be sustainable and to be resilient.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I would say, you know, we're probably in the early stages of that. I mean, we are working in shifting from kind of our strategy 2020, which evolved originally 5 years ago, to now strategy 2025, which is underpinned by this notion of working together unstoppable and starting to explore where are going to be our new opportunities of doing business. And I think what we find is that the last 4 to 6 months are going to take us into new areas of contribution, new areas of business that we haven't explored before. But we know as we do that, this whole idea around environmental sustainability is becoming significantly even more important for us. And we have to find ways to contribute to that and demonstrate in that space.
And that was Rob Rosenberg in Ohio with DHL. Thanks, Rob, for your insights.
Thank you. Good talking to you.